Regardless if you have 1 hour or 10,000 hours of Tarkov under your belt, you know that sound is one of the most important aspects of the game. I would say second to only sight. I'm sure that most of you will agree. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to kill someone by just hearing them. Anyways, sound is so important because it gives you information that you can't see. That's why the perception skill is so important to understand, but there's so little information on it. How much does it really boost your hearing? Is what the wiki says accurate? How far can a level 1 perception player hear without headphones? Hello everyone, this is CZTL and I'm here today with a video trying to quantify how the perception skill helps you out in Tarkov. The perception skill in Tarkov gives you 2 distinct advantages. The first is you're able to detect loot at a larger distance, which doesn't really help you out in fights, but it helps you loot quicker. The second and far more important aspect about perception is it increases the distance in which you can hear enemies by 0.68% per level. At max level, it gives you a 35% increase. With the importance of sound, this seems like a tremendous advantage. Being able to hear enemies before they hear you, it gives you clues to how many people there are, the odds of it being a scav, or even just to know that someone's coming. You're able to plan ahead and react if you hear the enemy before they hear you, and you immediately have the upper hand. Take a look at this clip for example. I had no idea this guy was here, and he had me dead to rights. Assuming we had the same gear and we played it equally, I would have been dead. Ow. That is why people hate campers, even though they're really performing something that would be considered an ambush.
Yeah, keep saying that.
Do you think people in the military call their enemies campers? Please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think so. Jokes aside, if you hear the enemy first, you immediately have the upper hand in a fight that might take place.
What is going on?
Before I start demonstrating the practical effects of different perception levels, I need to give a couple disclaimers. I can't tell you exactly what perception will do in all circumstances. Sound is incredibly complex in Tarkov. If you don't believe me, Veritas has a 3-hour video explaining Steam audio. My goal is not to be an expert on sound here, but to provide some simplified testing I did to help you quantify how the perception skill will actually affect things in game. To do this in a reasonable amount of time, I'm giving you this disclaimer that the tests aren't perfect. These scenarios may not be realistic and some of the data may not apply to you. Wow, that's like the fine print of your insurance contracts. Now before you turn this off, we're going to get into a narrow and specific aspect about the perception skill, which will give you some helpful stats about audio, and that is the distance that you can hear enemies under ideal circumstances. What we will be doing in this video is comparing someone who has a 42% increase in their hearing distance to a level 1 perception person that has a 1% increase. All this data is collected on woods, in night raids, dry skies, and I try to keep the elevation as consistent as possible in the same clips. All testing with active headsets is using Sordens. Now let's get into the comparisons. At the top of this clip you can see the decibels from the audio, and as you can see there's a lot of ambient noise. In all these clips I'm going to be taking the straight line distance in which I can no longer hear the target. And again, this is a little subjective, so these results may vary for you. I use a screenshot to grab the coordinates from the person performing the action to calculate the distance in which I can no longer hear it. This first test will be how far can we hear someone without active headsets with level 1 perception. And I apologize for my mechanical keyboard in the background. Compare that 1% increase with a 42% increase. I tested walking and running with Sordens, without a headset, and also an Alton on. Here's the level 1 with Sordens. And I compared how far away you could hear the person jump with all 3 sets of things that affect your hearing. Notice that there's nothing obstructing our vision to each other, and that may not be as realistic as the situations you might find yourself in game. There's usually something in between you, whether it be a Connex box or wall or something. Anything that reduces the sound that you hear will lower the total distance in between skill level 1 and skill level 51. So keep that in mind when reviewing the numbers I'm going to present right now. So the first distance column is level 1, and the second distance column is a 42% increase, or column 2 and 3 respectively. The fifth column is the total distance difference between a 42% increase in hearing and a 1% increase. And the sixth column is the percent difference. And notice that they're all roughly around 41, which is what we wanted. So that means our methodology is somewhat accurate. The first thing that sticks out to me is the difference in the distance that you can hear enemies at when you have active headsets on. It's incredible, and you should always wear them. Imagine your enemy running at level 1 perception and you walking. That's a difference of like 37 meters. The next thing I was curious about was how different surfaces impacted these numbers. So I tested both my characters on both metal and wood. And initially, it seems like the metal that you are on changes how perception affects the distance that you can hear other people at. So the first thing that stands out is that you can hear people on wood and metal a lot further, which you probably already knew. Second, notice that percentage. It's not around 41 where it should be. I don't know if that's intended or not, but I think that this needs more digging into because there's not much data in this chart. So now let's put these numbers into some perspective. I'm currently right outside the door of Crack House, and the distance to this pole is 59 meters, about the max distance that we saw for hearing enemies. And the distance to the start of the bridge is about 29.5 meters, so that's right in between the two. For another reference, assuming that you're way underweight, depending on your strength level, you'll travel between 5.5 and 6.5 meters per second running, and 2.8 to 3.6 meters per second walking. So, is the perception skill overpowered, balanced, or is it useless? So you're rarely in a situation where you're directly in front of someone with no obstacles in front of you. In that case, perception doesn't mean anything. But when you're roaming around a map, and you have an area of up to 37 meters that other people cannot hear, I think that is a gigantic advantage. It disproportionately allows people who spend much more time on this skill to frequently have more information, choose whether or not to fight, and if they do, to fight on their terms. I definitely think that this would up the survival rate of anyone who had the skill maxed pretty significantly, but that's just my own opinion. On the other hand, the tests that we had performed and the numbers that we came up with are best case scenario with no sound obstacles whatsoever. When you have walls and other things that sound has to travel through, that total distance amount is going to greatly reduce. So while it still may be an advantage, it won't be as much of an advantage as what we had suggested with the numbers. It's up to you if you want to spend time leveling up this skill. I personally don't even think this skill makes any sense. The more gunshots, explosions, yelling in your ear, reduce your hearing. This skill should almost be reversed. It gives level 1s the ability to hear further. Your hearing doesn't actually get better as you age, or experience very loud noises. Okay, now let me tell you how to level up this skill. You level up this skill by picking up loot, and I believe it has to be loose loot. Each unique item that you loot gives you 0.165 skill points. And again, remember those diminishing returns. So get in and out of raids pretty quickly if you want to level this up quickly. Let me know what you think about this skill in the comments. Also, I know that there's plenty other of things that you can test when determining how far you can hear someone, such as through walls, etc. So let me know if it's worth spending time making a video on something like that. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, smash the like out of that shit button, consider subscribing for more Tarkov content in the future, and I will see you on the battlefield. CZTail out.